Hello, everyone. Welcome to another video from That One Sports Fans. And today we'll be talking about the NFL preseason, mainly my reactions from the slate of games that was played, and as of today's date, August 8th, 2024. First off, I want to start off with the Hall of Fame game from the Bears versus Texans, and during Week 1. The reason why I want to cover this game is mainly just because the fact is it was the only game during the week, and I felt like it would just be unfair for it to have its own separate video before I started doing major uploads. So I just kind of said, screw it, I'm just going to throw it in the save. The result is Bears won 21 to 17 from the Texans. It got canceled in the third quarter due to heavy thunderstorms. And notable players that kind of got put into the Hall of Fame was Devin Hester, which honestly, coming from a Bears fan, is like I'm not surprised he got qualified for it, but at the same time, it's kind of sets like a precedent that like you could be an excellent punt returner and like or just even like kick returner, and you should be considered in. So it kind of brings the conversation for today. Should Cordell Patterson be considered for the Hall of Fame? Because technically, he is a really good returner. So if Devin Hester could get in, then we may need to start opening up the conversations for Cordell Patterson. I'm just saying. Julius Peppers, absolute beast for the Bears. Just a freak of nature at defensive end, really good. Andre Johnson too, freak of nature at wide receiver, and Patrick Willis, one of those players that honestly could warrant an entire Wooded video. And you know what? I may just like have those in the future. I know like earlier in the channel I said to do hypotheticals, and I'm kind of working on one like right now, which will probably be released in between the games next week. But like you'll just have to wait and see what it is. The announcements for that will be coming up soon. Notable players: Brett Ripon went 11-15 for 166 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. Khalil Herbert led the running back committee with 4 carries for 35 yards, and Colin Johnson 3 receptions for 56 yards and 2 touchdowns. For the Texans, mainly the quarterbacks were the ones of note, with Davius Mills for 10 of 13 for 102 yards and a touchdown, and Case Keenum for 7 to 9 for 78 yards and a touchdown. Cam Akers for a total of 31 yards total of offense and a rushing touchdown. No, not rushing touchdown, passing touchdown. My fault. For 2 receptions and 5 carries. And during this, I'll be talking about like kind of like my takes, my opinions during the games. First off, I have is the kickoff. I actually enjoyed it. The stats of it were Texans had 3 returns for 60 yards total. Bears had 4 returns for 99 yards total. So the average was 23 yards per return at 22 return rate. They were returning like every single kick, and for the Texans, their average was 22 yards, no, 20 yards, and the Bears were almost 24 yards. So like overall, like about the same average, but at a higher rate. I kind of like that. I kind of liked it. My opinion is there could be improvement. You kind of see like during like the games, like they use a bunch of different players at that returner spot, and I think that's what it's going to be. I think it's just going to be like a returning committee now for the kickoff because they want to put in different personnel for it, which makes what the Steelers wants to do with Justin Fields more interesting since they want to talk about putting on such teams. I think looking at it like for the first hand like experience, I think it actually would be a pretty solid thing. I kind of like this change. I hope they keep it around. I know like that there's a lot of discourse around it, but I feel like a lot of it just because of it's new. I feel like over time it'll be good. And players I think that'll be important. Cam Akers, 31 total yards and a touchdown is impressive given the opportunity he was giving. I think he should make the final roster, honestly. I feel like he'll be a good veteran presence for the entire offense, specifically in that running back room. I think it'll be good. Davius Mills, easily a really good like QB2 for CJ Stroud. Like honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it was just kind of like in the games he gets like a touchdown or two during the year when they're blowing out teams. Like really wouldn't be surprised. And last but not least, Colin Johnson. He should be in the game. He is a 6'6" receiver who is a jump ball threat. Like he is just like every time Ripon tossed out the ball near him, it was just like catch it, just go get it. I think he'll be perfect as the wide receiver 4 for the Bears because you have Keenan Allen, who is more of like a route runner, DJ Moore, who's a little bit more physical, but again, like utilize that route runs. Roman Aduze, he doesn't look much of like a jump ball threat. Colin Johnson being a 6'6", like 200 like 20 to 30 pound receiver. He is just a perfect big body just to be in that deep zone and like more like a deep threat red zone target. Just for like Caleb Williams to like kind of set little passes to him just so he can bring down the ball. I think he would be a perfect addition as like the wide receiver four, and not enough people are talking about it. And I feel like he really should be talked about. Like truly, I think he will be a good player for us. First actual game for tonight's slate of games is the Lions and Giants. I forgot to put in the results. Kidding me. But basically, the results was Giants had 14 points, and Lions had 3 points off of a kick. So Lions lost the game. Main notes: good amount of flags, mainly on special teams due to new rules. First quarter, there was mainly the main ones, for example, illegal formation, and illegal formation was one, and landing outside the landing zone. That equals up to a 40-yard start for the Giants, which is like, if that's how far the punch is going to go, then good on them. I think it's a fair thing. It's a pretty reasonable area saying, hey, you have like about 20 yards to like land this ball in, and if you can't make it, you should be punished. I think it's totally valid. I really believe it's a valid rule. Coaches challenge on a fumble turned to incomplete pass in the first quarter. I think that was just like more of like refs like getting the bad flags and bad like calls out of the systems. I think that's just my opinion. And defense had a couple of flags. Like I know there was one that caused like the Giants to get a first down, kind of like more of like kind of like a roughing pass, and then an offsides that extended that drive on the Lions that we talked about. And also there was a lot of injuries. It was a rainy game. Two were on the Lions with David Bada and Hendon Hooker, and Drew Lock for the Giants got injured. So that of course is kind of like a thing where it's like this is kind of the reason why you don't really play your starters out of much during the game, which is like makes sense, pretty valid. Noticeable players: Maurice Alexander, two return fumbles. He fucked up the Lions. He literally had butterfingers on his hands. Like I think he's gonna get cut. I wouldn't be surprised by like the next day there's an announcement saying Maurice Alexander got cut from the Lions. I would not be surprised. Jalen Jalen Reeves Martin, I want to highlight him because he had a good reaction on a screenplay where it was just kind of like a little like check down and then just like he just bolted towards him because it's kind of got him. That was a really good reaction. That was pretty good. Nate Stufield, I wanted to highlight him because he was really bad. He even though yeah, 13 for 23 for 96 yards and interception, he played horrible. He made a lot of like bad mistakes. He threw into triple coverage during like one of the plays, like around like that third quarter range. So it was pretty bad for it. Lions secondary is really well. Brandon Joseph had a really good interception during the game. Amik Robertson was making people miss and a pass deflection. Hendon Hooker, this big body quarterback, he looks like he probably gets at least double steak, double chicken in his burrito bowls easily. He went 5 for 9 for 36 passing yards, 4 carries for 34 yards. I'm pretty sure he led the team in rushing yards. He also got a highlight where he absolutely just bodied one of the Giants defenders to the ground and just basically just like pointed like first down. Here we go. And the last one I want to mention was Isaiah Williams. And the reason why I highlight him, 4 yards for 4 receptions, 35 yards, pretty good. But it was just like the route running he was doing. Like he was pretty good at like moving around and just kind of like getting the ball. So I thought it was pretty good. Honestly, Lions kind of pretty good improvements overall. I could kind of see it, except really like Maurice Alexander was kind of like the one like bad splash on all of this. Honestly, in my opinion, for Giants, mainly it mainly is Drew Lock, 4 for 10 for 17 yards and an interception, 2 carries for 12 yards. He got injured partway through the game, so like that kind of sucks for him. Next up is Eric Gray. 98 total yards for 2 rushing touchdowns was insane. He had like a run where he was just avoiding through Lions defenders, and he just kind of like made it through. Like he just kind of kept going. Tommy DeVito played really well. 8 for 14 passing passes for 92 yards and 2 carries for 4 yards. Pretty solid. Tyree Jackson, I just want to highlight because he averaged like 17 yards per session and he had 2 receptions for 34 yards. That was pretty good. And the Giants' whole defense was just making tackles. They were just making tackles nonstop the entire game. They were wanting to like bring them down, make sure they didn't like really extend any good like runs and stuff like that. And they want to make sure like down. Overall take, Lions defense. The unit looked overall unit looked improved. However, they got an aggression problem. Like that defensive line was kind of going like a little crazy. They were getting like a lot of tackles. And the reason why I put like aggression problem is yeah, they're playing hard to get to the ball and create chaos overall for the other team. However, it can create a good amount of flags and injury possibilities. Like for instance, I play like high school football. Like I'm like currently in college, so yeah. But basically, it's just kind of like it was. You see this very common, whereas like teams who played much more aggressively or have more aggressive type players, they tend to get injured a lot more. And I think the Lions, at least this game, had that problem, and you can tell because there's three injuries. Yeah, the field was a little wet. Like I'll give some discrepancy for that, but overall, it's just kind of like there were some injuries that was being in there. And overall, my take is I wouldn't be surprised if they're higher up in the league in terms of flag totals. I would not be surprised from that. And if they play like this if they play like this intensity, however, they'll make some really good plays. I think they'll make amazing plays throughout the season, but like they will be up there for flags. Really, that's just my take of that though. And my second take is the new QB2s. Tommy DeVito, he really showcased for why he should be at worst like quarterback two. 8 for 14 for 92 yards, really good, and he also helped lead the Giants past the aggression of the Lions. Like he was kind of like that one where it was just kind of like he was helping say, yeah, like even though Eric Gray was the one who kind of like scored the points, it was really Tommy who kind of like helped like got everyone together, rallied the troops, and was kind of like, hey, we're going down there. And also like Drew Lock, I heard, so it's kind of like I wouldn't be surprised if he just starts like anyway for the rest of the preseason and going into the season. I wouldn't be surprised if he just becomes like QB2 and like probably preseason like again he just becomes QB1 because Daniel Jones is gonna play absolute booty cheeks. But that's just my take, of course. And Hendon Hooker, strong quarterback in the rushing game, who looks to be like kind of like a solid passer. And also Nathan Sudfield played awful. Like generally he played awful. Like I watched like majority of the game, he was just playing terribly. And like as I said, like I think Hendon Hooker could be a good QB2 for like a Jared Goff because Jared Goff is more of like that passer who can kind of scramble. Hendon Hooker is one of those guys where if you put him behind that Lions O line and you run like outside zone, like more of like that wildcat stuff, is like I think he could play really well. Like genuinely, I think he can. So I think he's a really good like quarterback too that can complement Jared Goff. So I think he should really just like be in that rotation. He did kind of get out with like in concussion protocol, so it's like hopefully he doesn't suffer an actual concussion. But if he does, then it's kind of like well, I still think he should be quarterback two no matter what, or at least at worst quarterback three. Bare minimum, he should stay on the roster. Like that's the bare minimum. He stays on the roster. But that's just my opinion. Game two. Patriots and Panthers. This is kind of like a boring game for most of the game. 17-3, the Patriots won. A good amount of rain in the beginning, so it was a lot more defensive plays and bad QB play at the beginning, but it got better as the rain stopped. And however, we got to see more kick returns, so I kind of liked it. Still, as I said, like I think kick returns is going to be pretty good. I think more teams are going to actually want to return the ball more with how it's being played and how it's set up. So yeah, noticeable players. Patriots quarterbacks, all of them. Um, Drake Maya 2 for 3 for 19 yards. Both completes to running backs only checkdown pass. He played for a drive. It just got subbed out. And from what we could saw, like pretty good like composure. He looked like he was always observing the game from the sidelines. So yeah, I think he played pretty well. Like for it, like made smart passes. Didn't really look like he was making mistakes out there. He just played solid. Like generally pretty solid. Bailey Zappi though, 12 for 20 for 108 yards and a scramble for 6 yards. Really good. Like he helped this team a lot during it. And when he got out, Joel Milton the third, 4 for 6 for 54 yards and a touchdown, 5 carries for 22 yards. He was pretty good. Like like the problem is like they have a lot of like quarterbacks, and you'll see my take later on of who I think like the QB2 will probably be, but we'll just see. Defensive line: Jermaine Fraze Jr. with a sack, Osman Igzy Z Mines. That's how I pronounce it. Z Mines with a sack, and Detroit Wise Jr. with a sack. They were just getting after the Panthers. Their offensive line sucked. Like if their secondary is lighting up this many sacks to the Patriots defensive line, then it's like I pray for Bryce Young. I genuinely pray for him. I pray for his body. Kevin Harris, 8 carries, 20 yards, and a touchdown. Panthers offensive line, they let up 3 sacks. Played horribly. I pray for Bryce Young to be safe. I hope that they actually like lock in for the season and just don't fuck up. Defense got some tacklers. Alex Cook, Clayton Isbell, and Deshaun Jameson, all with like over four tackles with a couple assists here and there. Overall, pretty good. Juke Luton, the quarterback, 7 for 9 for 38 yards. Pretty solid, like really efficient with like the passing game. Kind of liked what I saw there. And my first take, Bailey Zappi. He should be quarterback too. And there was a mistype. I meant to say 108. It's supposed to be 108, not 198. 108. But for how he's playing, I think if the Drake Myers go down, I could really see this being like a stat line for Bailey Zappi, honestly. And also Jacoby Seth played pretty bad. He went 0 for 3 on passes for 0 yards. Pretty bad. And overall, I think he will probably be a starter for his second game with a drive by Drake Maya again. That's really how I think it's gonna go for the next game, really. And that's about it for the preseason reactions. Overall, tomorrow's slate of games is Falcons versus Dolphins, Texans versus Steelers, and Eagles versus Ravens. I will, of course, do another short where I give over my predictions. And again, I would just want to give this apologies out for like the bad quality of the short. I was kind of a rush. Not saying it's an excuse. I'm just saying what the facts are. I was kind of in a rush. I just kind of like threw on a record and thought it sounded well. Someone made a comment on it saying it was pretty bad quality, which listening back to it, yeah, I kind of agree. But however, I'm gonna keep it up as more of like a learning experience for me of how to better improve myself for this and for you guys. So, yeah, tomorrow's hopefully gonna be better short, and I will see you guys tomorrow with a new set of games. Bye, everyone.